Hello, and welcome back to Mellohi, a Dream SMP podcast. This is episode 19, and today we'll be discussing the Egg arc. As always, we refer to the characters by name and specify when we're talking about the writers, and we also try to focus more on analysis. Okay, so we have a guest today.
Yay! Guests!
Yay. Hello.
Okay, so could you introduce yourself?
I'm Sarah Dawn. My pronouns are she, her, and I am another Dream SMP podcast host. It's called We Live on Angst, and I interview content creators from the community.
We Live on Angst is such a good podcast name when you think about it, because everyone in this room is just like, that's what we thrive off of.
Yeah.
So, good naming choice there.
But do you really love a character if you haven't written or read fan fiction where they get tortured?
I mean, I feel
It's
like that
canon,
says something
isn't
about
it?
depends on the favorite character. Speaking of which, we're all Sea Dream fans. That's how we know each other. But who is your favorite character or group of characters?
Definitely the bench trio, even though in canon they haven't done much together at all. I think out of the bench trio, my favorite character would probably be that's hard.
They're the popular ones. I get you.
Yeah.
I mean, personally out of the bench trio, I would say that, as, a story arc, in terms of story arc, I think Ranbu's way more interesting, but in terms of just, their pure characters,
Tubbo.
I think Tubbo's a lot more
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Even if he has, a bit less going on with him in the plot.
Yeah,
line.
I'm
no,
a
definitely.
giant Tubbo apologist. Tubbo's never done
Same.
anything wrong in his life.
We just ignore the
Yeah.
charm.
That never
wasn't
happens.
his fault. That wasn't his fault. That was Quackity.
We can blame it. We can blame it on
Yes.
Quackity. We can blame it on
Agreed,
Quackity.
yes.
Rambu's also great, even if he's got a chocolate eclair spine. But, you know.
My personal interpretation of Rambu. He's a little shit. Actually, he loves blowing stuff up, but he just doesn't do it because he's scared of what other people think of him. He has no fear of God whenever he's working with Dream. This is canon, trust me, Sasuke.
Rambu's a fun character in general. But
No, he is.
From what we've seen of Enderbu, he acts a lot more confident than the regular Ranbu that we see when he's not Enderwolfing.
yes.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I'm like,
Okay, but we should probably get onto the. Okay, wait. Actually, no. We have to ask. How do you get into Dream SMP?
Well, so I originally just didn't. I don't watch YouTube a lot, really. I didn't grow up. I wasn't allowed to. So my friend loved showing me just a bunch of YouTube stuff. And I specifically remember it was sometime, probably around this time a year ago, when I walked into my friend's house and she was like, she didn't even say hello. She was like, "Do you know who Tommy Innit is?" And that
What an
and
introduction.
right. And from then on, it just kind of. I didn't really watch streams for a while. It was just something that she was into that I just she just ranted to me about. I remember her coming to lunch being like, "Oh my gosh, Sarah Schlatt won the election." And I was like, "Cool." And then I think the first stream I watched was November 16th, so.
Okay, good stream to start off
that's
on.
an
I
introduction.
think a lot of people definitely watched with November 16th since it was so, hyped up
Yeah.
with the whole traitor
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, so the actual topic of this episode, we're going to be discussing the Eggpire.
Ooh, egg.
And that entire arc that we are still waiting. We are still waiting on that
There's nothing.
Bad,
conclusion.
bad. Where is your egg arc? Where is the finale? You said there was gonna be lore!
Open the egg
We
door.
want
Stop having a
alien
peek
egg
code.
thing. I don't know what it is, but we want more, please.
Yes,
And
you've
thank
definitely been in a lore drought lately.
I don't know what this is, but I want
the
more of
red
it.
velvet
Yeah.
egg. The velvet egg theory is
Yes,
true.
that should be.
Velvet egg, velvet egg.
Okay, so I think it's probably best to start off with doing a recap and then just see where we go from there. So the egg was first discovered in the same stream that Pandora's Vault first, the foundations for its were first laid.
Yes, because it's related to Dreamin' Hunters, very faintly because it was found in a giant cave that Sapnap
Fundy and Tubbo.
Yeah, Fundy, Tubbo, and I don't know if Sapnap was
Maybe
there at the time.
I think Fundy got Sapnap to dig it out.
Yeah, I don't remember if Sapnap joined after it started. I think he joined after it started, but they asked him to hollow out a giant, like, cave hole for them so that they could have a dreaming base, and then Fundy was just like, yeah, we're never actually gonna use that.
I think I think Bad wanted to join the Dreamin' Hunters, but they didn't want to let him on, so they just got him to dig a giant hole for them that they're never gonna use.
Yeah, and then he
turned it into a statue room.
Yeah, he turned into a statue room, and then as he kept digging, he found a weird egg thing in the corner that he really liked, but a lot of people really didn't. Understandably. It was still really cool that first stream, though, as they were all, like, running around and whatever.
Oh yeah, the whole thing, like, who could be building?
Yeah, with the vines just appearing behind them, and there weren't a lot of people on at the time, so it was a really weird little thing, but it was really cool. Especially because, like, even, like, Dream and Sam and the other, like, couple people who were there were like, what, how are these showing up?
It's like the friend disappears stream all over again.
Right, so at the start with the egg, what it mostly did was just, like, influence people to feed it. I think they'd feed it stuff like steak, and I think in one case Puffy fed it gold.
Maybe?
And yeah, so Puffy was one of, like, the original like mind control people. It was Bad and Puffy. Is there anyone else?
It started with Aunt Puffy, Bad, and Puns were, like, the first, like, Eggpire people.
Yeah, Puns. No, I think Puns took some time. It took some time before Puns was.
He joined a little later, but he was like, he's one of the core, like, founding Eggpire people. So
I don't know why, but I assume I just sort of, like, lump Eggpire and Badlands people together into the same group.
It's pretty much the same.
Well,
more or less.
Yeah, I think Sam's the only member of the Badlands that didn't become part of the Eggpire.
Yeah. So, timeline-wise, the egg was discovered December 6th, and then Sam, Skeppy, Bad, Dream were all, like, the first people to encounter it, and then Puffy, Ponk, Ant, Bad, and I think Puns was a little later, but it was those sort of, like, 4 people were sort of the beginning.
Okay, so at the start, the egg wasn't, like, that aggressive.
No, it was pretty slow.
It kind of just made people feed it.
Yes.
And then, the first, like, real big egg thing to happen, I guess big plot point in Egg Arc, was when Skeppy decided to encase it with obsidian.
Yeah, they did a bunch of stuff, like, messing around with the egg to see what it did.
They did a bunch of experiments, and they figured out how it worked, where it will turn...
Doesn't it just absorb the obsidian, like,
blue?
into it?
I think it
turns it to crying obsidian, and it just grows bigger.
Yeah.
How does the color thing work again? What is it?
It
turns blue stuff red.
So red to white, blue to red.
Yeah. And then something that I think people forget about is that Ponk took a piece of the egg and put it in his little casino thing that doesn't exist anymore.
And he watered it with the holy water
and it turned green. I think.
Very, very dream green, which is why people theorize it's somehow associated with Dream XD.
Yeah. Dream XD can never get a break.
I don't think Dream XD was a thing back then.
Everything's...
Aside from, like, that one part in the Dreamin' bit, but he didn't show up properly until, like, Syndicate running into his portal room.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but people still, like, talked about XD being some kind of force or dream.
Yeah, it was like a joke, sort of, for a little while that he was like, everyone was like,
from the very start, there was definitely this connection where the egg wouldn't go into Church Prime and they could use the water against it.
Yeah. It became their cleansing thing, where if you went into the Church Prime and you used the holy water, it would sort of keep you safe, as well as the purple leather suits or the hazmat suits in the Church Prime. So that was pretty much
and I think they washed those in the holy water.
Yeah, it was set up as, like, a direct opposition to the egg almost immediately. which is interesting.
Okay, so obviously Skeppy encased himself inside the egg,
Great
and
job,
then when
buddy.
he came out, he was all
Yeah,
red.
real smart move.
And I think that was the first case we had of the egg being able to change someone's appearance.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for like all of this, but I've read some stuff, and I remember one of the things that I read was Skeppy bathwater, and Bad's attempt at fixing Skeppy involved something like it.
He tried giving him like.
I think he tried giving him like holy
tried
water,
giving
but
him
it was like
diamonds.
contaminated by everyone else.
He gave him diamond blocks, and then Skeppy burned them. He gave them like 14 diamond blocks, by the way, like not a small amount, and then Skeppy burned them all,
Scandalized!
which is awful. Just on a Minecraft level, that makes me sad.
Just
And then he tried to give him like things that Skeppy enjoyed, like sand, I guess, is something that Skeppy likes, and Skeppy destroyed that too. And then Skeppy like destroyed the statue that Bad built him. And then he tried to make him jealous too, and it was basically just Skeppy had like lost like all emotion or like desires or any kind of like affection for anything other than the egg.
I mean, he also said Technoblade was his best friend.
Somehow that stayed, yeah. maybe it's blood for the blood god related, but I don't know. Yeah, Skeppy just.
God, that's depressing.
Yeah, Skeppy just had like this whole. It was really well acted. I remember that was like the big thing when it first happened. Is everyone was like, it's really crazy how good like Skeppy's doing at this, and Bad and everyone involved. And then that plot line though with Skeppy particularly, and him like being red in the egg and whatever, kind of went weird because it sounds like Skeppy didn't want to do it anymore. So we don't have a lot of that anymore. But Skeppy's whole thing with the egg is what leads Bad to decide to fully join
the
it.
egg. Yeah, because if he couldn't be with Skeppy, then he would join the egg just to be with Skeppy again.
Yeah.
And I think, didn't this, like, I'm secondhand information, but didn't this come from, like, Puffy saying that there's nothing Bad could do to help Skeppy anymore?
Yeah, that
was probably a factor.
Yeah, there was something about, Puffy saying to Bad, just sort of offhand, that nothing he seems to be doing is working, and at this point...
So you might as well just
you might as well just give up, and Bad was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take those words to heart, but instead of giving up, I'm gonna just do the one thing that'll keep me with my best friend still. You know, join the egg!
I can't imagine how hard that must be, though, to watch your best friend just, like, turn that quickly.
Oh yeah, it's tragic.
Yeah.
Bad's a sad character.
I mean, they're literal soulmates. They're literal soulmates, like... Bad's just given Skeppy 2 foot tall, where if I can't die until he dies lore.
I keep forgetting that Skeppy's only like 2 feet tall canonically. He's so tiny.
I'm pretty sure that was like not actually canon, but it is very funny to think about. And technically there is nothing in canon that
no one has said it's not true.
Denies it. No one said it's not true, so we're taking it as fact.
Yeah, that's how canon works, right?
Yeah.
That is actually how canon works, guys.
Right, yeah, no. So, because originally, Bad, Puffy, and Ant were all, like, pretty possessed by the egg. But then they did the whole, someone blocked it off with the obsidian, and that sort of distanced the connection.
Yeah, Skeppy.
Yeah, and then Skeppy got blocked in. And then now Bad, Ant, and the others were trying to get Skeppy back. And in the process, they were like, okay, well, this isn't working. And that's about the time that, like, Puns got more involved on being for the egg and all of these people because it wasn't working.
The reveal happened when Bad announced, like, the formation of the Eggpire, I think.
Yeah.
At this table right above the egg. And right after he revealed that the red on his skin had turned to white.
Yeah, that was interesting because it was him. He changed a lot because all of the red on him turned to white. Puns' eyes turned red. Ant's eyes turned red. Did Ponk's skin change? I don't remember if Ponk's skin changed at all.
I think there was I think they did have like
Punk
a
has red
Eggpire
eyes.
skin, but it did not use it.
Oh, that's too bad. Now we just have him without his
No,
arm.
Punk has like a full Eggpire skin, but also one with red eyes.
I will say.
Although at the start, like a Punk
Oh,
was
weren't
like
those
one of the most
contacts?
interesting characters with the Eggpire, right? Because
Yeah.
Punk had like this whole arc where he was like not controlled but still like influenced.
Yeah.
Because
Right, he was infiltrating the
over
Eggpire
the
and he
egg
had
like twice.
Yeah.
yeah.
That was,
He had
But
like
he never
colored
gave
contacts.
into it until he thought that Sam was cheating on him.
Yeah. Sam.
darn it, Sam. Talk to your man.
So something like we didn't actually end up mentioning during that first little bit of the Eggpire stuff is it's not just that Bad didn't really like the egg, it was that when the vines were destroyed, it upset him.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he felt pain, but he says like, no, don't destroy them. That's like, why would you do that? It's just an egg.
Yeah, he would get like they would all get pretty upset if you like hurt the egg in any way or like messed with the vines.
Yep.
And I remember he like had to make like a slight compromise with people, or like, okay, well you can get rid of these ones because they're really far away, but you can't or like
Not
you
the
can get
ones
rid of the ones
close.
that are like blocking the path completely. So then they would just grow over the path or underneath it, and it's just like, okay. All right, so there's some mesmerizing stuff going on here with the egg.
There's some mind control shit.
Maybe that's its strategy. It lures you in by making you like it, or like, you know, be kind of mesmerized by it. And then once you get close enough, it starts talking to you and offering you things.
Yeah.
The egg's a wacky little creature thing, little pet shop of horrors creation that, honestly,
I mean, we know
Eldritch
it's
abomination.
quite ancient.
yeah, we know it's old.
Ancient eldritch beings.
Those are always great to be interacted with. It's
Hello from the other side.
What I was saying is that we'll get to it later, but the egg does talk with foolish, and I think that's like really interesting when we're talking about the egg as a character. But that's a bit further down the timeline.
yeah. At this point, it's not
Okay, so
really-
after the establishment of the Eggpire.
yeah, that goes okay.
Okay, so wait, what was the next egg plotline?
Yeah, the Eggpire goes okay-ish, other than the fact that like immediately one of the members is like, "I'm only actually in this to get rid of it."
Puffy?
Yeah, Puffy. Props to her for trying.
Well, he set up the whole like thing that drops people in a hole.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
And Sam
Sam
and
gets
I think
dropped in.
Yeah, Sam
a
gets
couple
dropped
people
in.
get dropped in.
And this is where
Rambo
we
got
get
dropped
the auto cannibalism.
Yeah, which was a really weird thing to happen.
Apparently, living super long on top of the egg makes your skin slow off and makes you want to eat it because you don't have anything else to eat.
That's a great picture.
Maybe that's just a Sam thing.
You know what? It's
I
just
mean, when Punk was stuck there, he was asking for like chocolate croissants.
Yeah, like
So maybe
Punk
the
didn't
egg
seem to have a
is able
bad
to feed
time.
off people's energy, and like it basically makes them feel hungry because it's stealing their energy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot we don't know about the egg.
Yeah, the egg's sort of still a black box as far as information goes, but it's interesting because
strong dinger's egg.
who all fell on top of the egg? We had Sam, Hannah got trapped on top of
Rambo.
it, Rambo got trapped on top of it, but only for like a little bit, and then Punk was on top of it, but he just broke out. Like, I think we forget
Oh,
that.
Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah,
Hannah,
and
yeah.
but like Punk, when he was like on top of the egg, he got left in there for like a day, and then he went to stream, and he just left. Like, he got out, and then like by the when Bad or Ant or someone went to stream, he went back and just went back inside and pretended he had been there the whole time. Like, that is something he canonically did. Like,
That is some king shit
yeah,
right there.
I mean, Punk is like the true OG of just tricking people into thinking he knows what. Because Punk wasn't actually possessed by the egg for the majority of the time he was on their side. It was like, I don't think he was ever
He just
corrupted by
had
the
red.
egg.
He just had red contacts.
Yeah, he chose to work for the egg because Sam made him that mad. Which, gosh darn it, Sam.
I wonder if the egg knew this.
And this was before
Sam
the
and
whole
his-
torture and cutting off his arm and taking the canon life thing.
Sam's just not
This
good.
was just because he thought Sam was cheating on it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a dysfunctional relationship right there.
Okay, Punk does not have trouble. Isn't bothered by the fact. Well, they are kind of bothered by the fact, but they're not like super bothered by the fact. No, the thing that they were tortured and killed and lost an arm to Sam. No, the thing that gets them is Sam's cheating.
Oh yeah, he can handle anything except for Sam.
I mean, also the
possibly being
fact
with someone
that
else.
Sam apparently, like, threw their mangled arm out. They're pretty
Yeah.
miffed about that.
I mean, I don't blame them. Sam kind of sucks. No offense, Sam. I do like you as a character, but you're kind of terrible.
He's really interesting as, like, one of those characters that goes from, like, actually being, like, well-meaning and wanting to help people to having this idea that he is the law, he is just anything that he does is right because it's him doing it.
Oh, Sam.
Because he's a good person, so everything he does is automatically good.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam. Dude needs therapy.
But this isn't about Sam.
That's true.
This is
It's
about
not
the
quite about
egg.
Sam. Well, it's a little bit about Sam because Sam's paranoia. Sam gets locked into the egg, gets this horrible experience, goes home. There's a vine in his house, which I think Puffy and Tommy get rid of for him. But then he has this whole, like, conflict with the egg that leads him to, like, pretend that he's also been corrupted by the egg. And then also try and, like, fight against it. Like, that's a lot of his dynamic with Hannah, is trying to help her not get sucked in by the egg, especially after she gets trapped down there, which doesn't work out very well for him. And then he becomes one of, like, the main, pro-omelet people with Puffy.
Anti-Eggers.
Yeah.
Talking about pro omelet, then the next big event we have is when Techno and Ranboo encounter the egg.
But before that, Tommy
Oh, yeah. Tommy.
visited the egg once.
Tommy's plot armor
couple times,
strikes
actually.
again. The boy doesn't get affected
It
by
really
the egg.
is!
For some reason. Which is really interesting, because we don't have
There are
any
the
clear
two-
bases.
There are the two main theories for it. The first is that he's one of the founders of Church Prime, and that gives him immunity. And seeing as the other people who are involved in building it, Dream and Quackity, don't seem to have heard the egg,
Oh, that's a pretty good theory.
that is like one of the main theories. The second theory is that it's because at that point, when he was building this hotel, he didn't really have anything that the egg could use against him. He had
Against
nothing
him?
that the egg could offer him that would make him
Yeah.
work for the egg.
Yeah.
So the egg didn't
Right.
even bother
Wasn't
trying
there,
because
like-
Leo wouldn't be able to convince him.
See, the problem with my logic, with my memory of the egg lore is that I have all these differing pieces, and I don't have a timeline for any of them. Because I distinctly remember Sam and Puffy confronting Bad and Ant over the fact that they wanted to kill Tommy
Yeah,
because
okay.
Tommy just didn't have
Yes.
any reaction to the egg at all, and going like, he's just a child. They're only children, which is probably where the whole awesome dad thing came from. And I also remember Bad and the Eggpire hiring
Yes.
Purple to go kill Puffy, and I
Yeah,
remember that because I was
so-
actually
I was-
there for the stream
I
for a
was
little
looking
bit.
forward to that. I was looking forward to Purple being able to do more lore, and then it just never happened. But I mean, like, that was involved in
Yeah.
Lost Nevada.
The timeline question you're asking for, though, was that Tommy goes down into the egg room with Bad and Ant, and they find out that he just isn't affected. Like, he does not. He's very neutral. Like, he finds it weird, but he's not, like, positive for the egg or negative for the egg, which is something they find very concerning because everyone has some reaction to the egg, whether it's hating it and despising it with their whole being or loving it like they do. And then he comes back with Tubbo, who just breaks down sobbing as soon as he touches it.
Tubbo just touches the egg. Tommy's like, don't
Yeah,
touch the egg,
so
and Tubbo just
then-
plop.
Ant and Bad get confronted by Sam and Puffy because they're discussing feeding Puffy to the egg and also killing Tommy because they think he's a threat. And then this is when they actually chase Puffy out. And this is when they lock Sam into the egg and then chase Puffy off and chase her into the Holy Lands, where they do not want to go. They will not cross the boundary into the Holy Lands, which is another little Holy Land Church Prime thing. And then after that, Punk is corrupted by the egg, and I'm going to use quotations around that because it's kind of iffy if he actually is or not. And then that's when he takes them to meet Purpled and Higher Purpled to track down Puffy and try and put her into the same cage that Sam was in. Or kill her, whichever. Yeah, whichever.
Whichever's easier.
And then Purple just never did it for some reason.
I mean, when is he gonna find a good time to go kill Puffy?
That's true.
Canonically.
The Eggpire doesn't know why they do it, but
I think people said that there was some issues with it because Puffy kind of metagamed.
Puffy does.
I knew about
Puffy
it.
metagames a lot. I'm going to wave it away with the idea that her amnesia is causing her to gain the memories of everyone else around her through the power of watching VODs. And that she can't tell. She doesn't remember watching VODs, but she can't tell if. But she'll like remember stuff, but she won't know how she knows things.
yeah. Puffy watching VODs is something fun in lore, but let's not talk about that because that's a whole discussion in and of
I
itself.
just love that explanation because I honestly I came up with that as just like, this is a joke about how
Have
many people
amnesia.
have amnesia. And it's like, it's because Puffy is stealing all everyone's
Yep.
memories because she can canonically
Yep.
watch VODs.
That's a fun one.
I just want that to become like a fandom-wide joke.
I like
Or make it canon so that we
Anyone
don't.
listening to this,
cry whenever it
if you're listening to
happens.
this, help me make this a fandom-wide joke that Puffy steals
You know,
people's
I'm up
memories.
for that. Sure. Puffy steals people's memories agenda. Let's go.
There's some like before we get to like the banquet, there's a confrontation with Foolish the Eggpire has for just a little bit.
Yes.
And then there's also stuff where Rambo and Tubbo are like visiting the egg room through this little side wall hallway
Yeah,
thing.
because we find because the Tommy and the Tubbo thing happens, and then Bad makes Puffy think that Techno had reached out to her, so she doesn't reach out to him. Blah blah blah. That gets confusing. And then Bad goes to try, which I don't know. Again, I don't know why that was his strategy of making Puffy think that Techno left her a message that just said anarchy, and to leave him like a note or a note at his house whenever she wanted to talk to him. Cause
I remember that actually.
Bad, why would your strategy be to make it easier for her to go and talk to him? Like, you broke the ice for her. Not for Techno, because Techno didn't know anything about it, but, like, why is that your strategy? It just seems weird. But it kind of works, because Puffy doesn't go and try and talk to Techno for a while. And then, when she finally does, Bad goes to talk to Techno to try and join the egg. Which, again, this is another circumstance where we find that the egg doesn't work on specific people, because it doesn't work on Techno, and then it doesn't really work on Rambo either. I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't.
Sends him to a panic attack.
Yeah, it makes him freak
But
out,
that
which
was
that's
about
not
it.
hard to do. It's
I
Rambo.
mean, he has two encounters with the egg, right?
Yeah.
There's the one where he falls down, that can easily be explained by just like him panicking because the obsidian box reminds him of his
Oh,
panicking.
yeah.
And then the second one is where he actually talks to the egg, and the egg knows
Yeah.
stuff
Actually,
about
I think the first time he was talking about, no, that's not true. I think the egg was already talking to him when he fell down. And then the second time was after the Techno egg stream, where he goes to visit the egg himself just to confirm that if he did talk to the egg or not.
Yeah, it was something like that. I know Techno made like a joke that like the egg can't do anything to him because he's already got too many voices in his head already. And then Rambo makes like
Get in line.
Rambo makes like a slightly similar joke about it as well because he's like, yeah, my head's crowded enough as it is because he's got the dream voice in his head and he's just like, yeah, it's already chaotic in there anyways. But he gets dropped down the hole, and then he starts like freaking out, and like Techno and Puffy are like, okay, we'll Pearl out or Trident out, and he's just like, I can't. And then after that,
For the
he goes
first,
and talks
the
to the
first
egg.
Pearl
The
Trident
egg
just
does
falls
seem to
back
be able to
in.
do something like that, where it can incapacitate people, because it did the same thing with Sam. And
Yeah.
made him drop all his
And the
stuff.
same thing with Hannah. Well,
The egg's interesting.
but Hannah, which I just got convinced to put her stuff in a box by Bad.
That's true. I don't, Hannah, honey, sweetie. No.
She just went along with
If
it.
people drop you in a box, don't just agree to give them your stuff, okay? That's not safe.
I mean, that could be another example of what I'm saying, of how the egg can, like, slightly influence people even if they're not around. I think this is probably a good time to talk about the egg as it is in Tales from the Lost.
Hills.
And then we can move on to talking about the Red Banquet and all that.
Yeah. We get our first
So, Tails egg.
Tails egg. It's backstory egg.
Right, so the first time the egg shows up in Tales,
Masquerade,
Masquerade.
I think. Which is
Masquerade,
nice because
Yeah, it's Masquerade.
although it could have been mentioned.
it might have been.
I think it was
mentioned.
retroactively implied in the village that went mad.
Yeah, I think that was a retroactive thing.
But with the masquerade, that was a very, very purposeful, intentional thing that they did with the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this ties into what I was saying about, like, subtle influence, where the egg was able to convince people to kill each other without them even seeing it. To see if they were around the area.
Which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my question. Do you think that the mansion that the egg was in the Masquerade, is just happens to be buried where the Dream SMP is now taking place? Or do you think that Billiam or whoever moved it?
I think
it was moved.
I feel like personally, I feel like it's less likely that it was moved, just because the egg, in the way that it, controls people, unless it wanted to be moved, I feel like it's more likely that it's the ruins just kind of happened to be there, and it, over time, the dirt's kind of piled up.
Yeah.
But what if it's a scenario where people fought the egg before in the past and they managed to bury it? Like, they weren't able to destroy it?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Because obviously it defends itself, so maybe they just buried it as deep as they
There's
could.
a very fun, like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
dreamin' theory where, like, the egg is somehow connected to the dreamin' or whatever, and the exorcism that Tubbo and Fundy did to Dream somehow set it loose, which is a fun, like, headcanon I've seen people use in a lot of fanfic, where somehow Dream XD's whole thing or whatever had it sealed away, which is why it doesn't show up for so long until after the Dreamin' Hunters and whatever. I'm guessing it's not that, and that was just sort of like a convenient, like, oh, we're digging here, let's use this room for this. But it's a very fun, like, theory and headcanon at the very least. But
Oh god. Okay, like, I love Eggpire lore, but so much of it is like the big thing with Eggpire lore is that you don't get streams like the banquet often or at all. Most of the time it's just them messing around or showing up on other people's stream as they're going in to mess with the egg. Like when Tommy and Tubbo went down to, like, when Tommy showed Tubbo the egg, Bad and Ant show up halfway through. And that was just so cool. And so you know how, like, the egg is now immune to TNT explosions?
yes.
We see that happening beforehand with a creeper explosion that I think Puffy lured in.
I think so. Puffy
I know
did.
that was just so cool. But you didn't, if you're not paying attention to their streams, you're not gonna catch them.
And we also saw the first time that it hurt someone when they tried to break it with Rambo, because Rambo tried to, when he was talking to it after the whole encounter with him and Techno and the egg, he tried to mine it, and it took off like a chunk of his health, like almost halfway down.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the first person.
He was the first one I know of, but again, I don't.
He was. I remember because I remember reading that that in the DSMP Wiki, my beloved.
I love the wiki.
I thought the wiki is so bad for the egg arc.
Right.
Like, I remember I was looking at the page for the egg to check something, and it still had Punk listed as like an enemy of the egg like a month after she'd been like fully controlled by it.
Oh, you're right. It did first attack someone else.
And like a bunch of stuff was missing. And honestly, it's just like it's one of those things that you get when anyone in the fandom can add to a wiki, but just kind of annoying that with like more popular people like Tommy or Wilbur, like they say something is canon and then like 5 seconds later it's updated.
But then when it's stuff like,
stuff like the egg arc, it's just like
even the prison arc,
a vital plot point isn't on the page until like 2 months later.
I've had many fights with the TV tropes page.
And the prison arc as well is really I remember seeing, I think it's been fixed now, but I do remember seeing something complaining that the prison visits were all on different people's pages.
No, like the biggest thing about the prison arc is
this entire problem. It doesn't have timestamps in any way.
But like
it doesn't have any way.
No source, no sources,
say,
no citing, no timestamps.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Or like there's no pages. Like if you're looking at like tools or weapons people have had that have been passed around, there's no page you can go to for that object, like for the discs. Or for like
it's just like very messily done.
You can go to just for that talks about who owned it
in a very
at what
typical
time.
like wiki fashion in the fact that like it's mostly characters and then places, which I think most like fandom.com wikis, that's kind of how they work. I like the Dream Team fandom wiki because that one's got a pretty good handle on SMP, I think, but I don't use it a lot.
I mean, there's are they not the same?
That's the wiki. Those are the wiki people. But my biggest problem with how they handled the egg arc was the prison arc was for the longest time. There was no description of any of the visits on Dream's page.
You'd think this would be important.
Yeah.
You think?
You think that the only bits of lore we've gone for like 7 months would be on
his page. You would have a description of how it went, of maybe like a brief transcript of some of the dialogue, but no, it just comments that Bad visited, Tommy visited, Sapnap visited.
Yeah.
That was it. It was so bad, and it's honestly the reason why I don't trust the wiki much at all, honestly.
It's okay, the TV tropes page is also
I did read on the wiki.
It can be alright if you're looking for something like a basic overview. Yeah. But if you want to actually know what happened, it's best to go and actually watch the scene yourself.
But we're getting very off topic from the egg, though.
Like a finding toy on Tumblr.
Sigh, no, I'm putting you back on track. We have to keep talking about the egg.
Yeah. Okay, so next big thing with the egg that happened before the banquet, what was it?
Foolish, his confrontation.
Quackity.
Oh yeah, Quackity and Carl warning Quackity of the egg.
No, the thing in Quackity's second worst stream where he goes to the egg and he tries to blow it up,
but we have stuff
that happens later though.
Yeah, we still
there's still more stuff about the egg before that. That's the thing though. The egg arc is huge and it's just fractured also.
Yeah. We get before any of that, we get Tommy dying.
I think at the moment actually no, I think the egg arc is actually currently the longest running arc on. Because I remember a few months ago it
surpassed the Manberg.
Like overwent the
Discord. Oh yeah, it surpassed the Discord arc.
Yeah, it'd be the longest running arc currently.
So
but we get
yeah, you're right. Tommy dies. Crab
rave. Oh my god, it's almost
crab rave.
In like
yeah, they rent out a room in his hotel.
In like 3 months. It's gonna be going on for a year.
Good for the egg arc.
Bad.
Now give us lore.
I know we want the lore, but make it last another.
It's gonna be like, what is it? It's gonna be like December the 7th, and that's when the egg comes.
Honestly, that'd be pretty nice.
I would not mind that. I would not mind the wait.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
But there was still more stuff before
we
that.
We gotta talk about Hannah.
Quackity.
Before we talk about Quackity.
Yeah, Hannah. There's like 2 things with Hannah. There's also a thing with Quackity where he goes to the egg and Bad almost convinces him to join, but then Carl whispers to him to be careful of it.
Yep. Carl doing lore on the SMP. Wild. I'm sorry, Carl. Tales from the SMP is great, but I don't know. It's fine.
Okay, so the thing with Hannah is like she's got some sort of
and
connection
she's
to nature.
like
Roses
allergic
make
to
her
the
better.
egg.
So the
Sort
egg.
of.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
excuse Sam used, but she does definitely have some reaction to it that's greater than
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah,
else.
because they were making her like feel sick or something. So I guess an allergic reaction to it's pretty accurate. So Sam and Hannah are trying to destroy the vines. Bad and Ant obviously get upset because of course they do, and then they try and get Hannah
Yep.
to the egg. And the closer they get, the
And
more
they
sick she
succeed.
feels.
Yeah.
And then apparently the egg tells Bad and Ant that it likes Hannah, and so they trap her in the cage.
The funniest thing was Bad gaslighting Hannah about her ability, about how well she feels.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gosh darn it. We have another king for gaslight gatekeep girl bossing on the server.
It was just so funny. It's like, don't worry, more exposure is gonna make you feel better. And then Hannah's just like, but I'm feeling more sick.
Yeah. She passes out. Sam discovers that her entire house has like been drained of color, which is very interesting for just like that sort of like character development or character traits, I guess, for Hannah. Is that like we know she's like some kind of nature spirity person, but the fact that her whole house is like connected to her well-being, and you can kind of tell how she's doing based off of how her house is doing, is really cool.
It could have also been
Oh, yeah.
the vines making their way to the house and draining it of color
Also
specifically.
possible, which that would be terrifying.
Wasn't this that really cool scene where she sees that her dogs are being infected by the egg, so she has to kill them?
Not the dogs.
She's like, oh, goodbye.
Yeah. And then about a day after of Sam deliberating whether or not to go back to rescue Hannah.
Sam, oh man, I love you, Sam, but you gotta make decisions and stop making bad decisions. Why are the only decisions he's super decisive about the worst decision? He's like, yeah, cut off Ponk's arm, no biggie. Oh yeah, I don't know, let Quackity into Torture Dream, yeah, that's fine. Rescue Hannah!
Oh my god, his entire character arc is just like, how many bad decisions
Yeah, pretty
can one
much.
man
That's the
make?
definition of Sam.
But yeah, basically after a day of being too terrified to go rescue Hannah and then wanting to be the hero and going to rescue Hannah, he finally decides to go to rescue Hannah, and he starts like he brings so much holy water with him, and he just starts hacking away at the egg that's not the egg, but hacking away the area where she's been trapped next to the egg, which, by the way, is still coded to hurt you if you break it.
Yeah.
And he ends up going too far and accidentally killing himself, which isn't canon, by the way.
It was the
It's
best
not a canonical
blooper
death.
though, because it was super awkward, because it was like meant to be the end of his stream as well. So he kills himself, and then he's standing there like, oops, that wasn't on purpose. And then he's like, that didn't actually
Everybody
happen.
was-
1 second. And then he switches over, so it's Hannah's stream like immediately after. And it was just the goofiest blooper.
Okay, that was like my first proper introduction to the egg lore, and I thought it was just the coolest shit ever. I wanted more of that, even though we don't get all the perspectives, because the way they just link up like that,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so cool.
The egg lore just has so much stuff like going for it, and is just like conceptually is super cool. And
If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it.
yes, you should. I know it's everywhere and on a lot of VODs, but I'm sure someone's gathered them up for you guys. Just go watch it. I
I'd
promise.
enjoy.
I'm pretty sure
Fighting Joy probably has it.
Eggpires, I think, on Tumblr has like a
Master list?
Yeah,
Toast.
probably.
of all the. I'm pretty sure it's Eggpires. on
Somebody's
Tumblr.
has to have it. You know,
You
someone
might have
does.
to like ask for it, because you know what Tumblr is with the
Yeah.
search. But yes, somebody definitely has a list of, if not all, most of the Eggpire. I
So
believe.
then Sam rescues Hannah. Hannah tells him that she thought that she was confused because last thing she remembered was looking for wood for her house. Sam told her she already had a house, and Hannah thinks that she was dreaming and that she had just woken up on the server, and like it was her like
This is
first
after.
day, and she had been
This is
there for
later.
months. No, this is all Hannah stuff. It's like shortly after.
This is Hannah stuff, but this is way after Sam rescues her, because there's a little bit where she's streaming and Sam rescues her, and then basically Bad and Ant start looking for Hannah because she's disappeared from
Yeah.
the egg. And Sam asks her to hide in her basement, but she keeps hearing the egg and she keeps wanting to leave and go see them.
Oh, you're right. I am mixing it up. Yeah, no, that's a couple weeks after she gets saved.
Yep. And
Yeah, because
then so the dream part, I think it was like April Fools.
maybe around then.
Maybe
It was April-ish.
It was like a prank for the audience about her just going about her day like it was the first time she was on the Dream SMP,
yeah.
and then it became lore.
Yeah, that's honestly not a bad prank. To be honest, it's like gaslighting your entire fan base and viewership. Though, be like, "Welcome to my first day on the SMP, guys," and everyone's just like, "What? No, you've been on here for months. What are you doing? No, wait, this isn't right." Oh man, it's little things like that too that make the egg more unsettling because you're like, okay, something's off here.
All right, so we kind of gotta speed run the next part of this because we are a bit low on time. But next egg thing is when Quackity tries to blow it up. It goes poorly. A rat is made canon to the Dream SMP.
The Eggpire's planning the
and this is-
banquet around, like, start planning it a little bit before that.
Soup nap.
Soup nap.
The pro omelet start preparing and like planning.
Everybody
what they're
gets
gonna do,
invites.
and then I think it's the day before. Bad
Skeppy.
and Skeppy get into an argument, and Skeppy and Bad hit Skeppy into a pool of lava, and he
And then
dies.
they wake up in a dream on Big Daddy Island.
And Skeppy is blue again.
That was
Right. So then the banquet
Rabu's
happens.
up there in the rafters.
Who's in the rafters?
You've got George wandering
Rambu's up
in.
there in the rafters doing whoever.
You
whatever
have a lot of
knows.
like little lore bits coming together with the banquet, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, there's so many.
Okay. So
Foolish made H-bomb, cat
Ant
made cannon.
And kills Foolish. Techno, Purpled, and Quackity show up. Then
Ant.
Puffy
Ant.
kills Ant, and then the Eggpire
escapes through
escapes.
their little back chambers.
Then after there's some really, really interesting stuff for the egg when
Foolish.
Foolish and the egg talk, and we find out this is like really interesting. Like I said earlier about the egg as a character, as this is the first time we've properly seen the egg have an actual conversation with someone. And the egg seems pretty evil. It just sort of wants to consume and grow, and it doesn't understand why Foolish isn't, like doing the whole totem of death.
Yeah.
With Foolish's connection to the egg, there is actually something that happens before the banquet again. There's so much stuff that happens. But the Eggpire come
When Erish and Foolish are tidying up some vines, and they find out that they knew each other.
I don't remember that part, but I
But
do
Eric forgot
remember
about
I do remember the Eggpire actually go and like they put TNT into some of Foolish's summer home builds, and then they actually Foolish finds some of it and removes some of it, but they come to confront him and actually do end up blowing up some of Foolish's summer home. And Ponk was speaking for the egg during that entire encounter, I believe.
It's he said that he didn't fear the egg as long as he was at his summer home, and then Bloodvine started appearing there, so he started taking it seriously. And then the Eggpire showed up with Ponk sort of leading the group, and they blow up his statue of, I think it's an Anubis statue, I don't know, but they blow up a giant statue that he had built, and then he gets super mad, and he's like, you know what, I'm a god of totems.
I'm a god of undying, but at one point I was a god of death.
Yeah, and then he summons lightning, and they run away, because, I mean, you're really gonna fight a man who's throwing lightning bolts at you? Like, I don't think so. I'm out. And then that happens. Foolish starts taking the egg seriously, which means he starts working more seriously with Puffy and Sam and Hannah, who at the time is pretending that
she's
she's fine. Yeah.
She's an imposter.
And then
she was building imposter statues.
yeah.
She was building Among Us statues all over the server.
The egg tries to convince Foolish to join the Eggpire. he tells the egg to go to
After
hell.
the banquet.
And then he goes and we have another church prime thing because he goes to the church and he steps in the holy water, and that's kind of how he gets rid of the voice.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the most recent bit of lore that we've had with the egg, that is not just bad saying that we're going to get the egg finale, is a few days ago when Sam and Tommy went down and we saw that the egg is still there. It has not been moved.
Months later.
And they tried to move it, but were unsuccessful.
Guys, the area in which the egg is immune to explosions has expanded to every single part of the egg that is in that room.
Yeah. You can't destroy any of it.
It's getting stronger.
Yeah, it's getting stronger, which makes sense because they were trying to feed it with deaths during the banquet, and they just got like 2 deaths there.
Yeah.
Vance death and Foolish's death, who is a god.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's gotta be a big power up for it.
Yep.
Not to mention, that makes a lot of sense as to why the egg wants Foolish on his side, because what's a better way to get, death than to get the former god of death on your side? So, yeah, no, the egg's still the same place.
So do you guys just want to wrap up quick?
And anyone have predictions for what's gonna happen with the egg? Because assumably it has to hatch, right? Like, it's gotta, and then Red Velvet's gonna come out, and Ant's gonna have his boyfriend, and it's all gonna be peachy keen, right?
Did you guys know that the egg promised Aunt Velvet, and there was a spot for Velvet at the banquet table?
I want Ant to have his evil
we talked
egg
about
boyfriend.
that in an episode.
Yeah.
He deserves it. Dang it.
He deserves it.
He does. Velvet for the Dream SMP right now.
Anyways, egg lore! It's everywhere, it's amazing, it's super awesome. You should go check it out if you haven't already. It has everything you would ever want, except for maybe your favorite characters.
Imagine if the egg finale comes out on Sunday, and by the time this episode is out, there's like this whole new bit of and we're just gonna have to spend all next week's episode just talking about the egg.
There's always a chance.
And that's us done.
Sarah, do you wanna plug your channel and everything real fast, or give any final thoughts?
Sure. I did have one thought. About if they are somehow able to move the egg. If they moved it to the Holy Land in Church Prime, how would that affect the egg?
I think it would die.
I'd assume it has to die, right? Or it corrupts the church. Either one would be interesting, though. It's a good question.
Okay, just for like one final remark, Sarah's being a guest on our podcast, but right after this, some of us are actually going to be on
It's
her
a crossover
podcast.
episode.
So, crossover episode. So, if you enjoyed hearing Sarah on this episode, and you enjoy listening to us, then check out that episode. When do you think it will be coming out, Sarah?
Probably mid-October.
It's gonna be a while, guys.
Yeah. October, so check out We Live on Angst and keep an eye out for that episode. We're going to be talking about Quackity's lore, so that's the one.
There's a lot of egg stuff in there too, so.
Egg and Quackity.
All right. Well, everyone say bye, because we never do this, and we should.
Bye.
Bye!
Bye!
Hey guys, it's spotlight time, but only kind of, because I'm actually mostly just here to make sure that you check out our wonderful guest from today, Sarah Dawn, the host of Dream SMP podcast, We Live on Angst. We Live on Angst is a weekly fan-made Dream SMP podcast, kind of like us, produced by Sarah & Co. with Howler Studios. New episodes come out every Sunday featuring cool lore chats and interviews with various content creators and members of the fandom. Working with Sarah was really wonderful, and in a few weeks, Sai and I will be guests on an episode of her podcast that you should definitely check out because it's all about Quackity and it's very cool. Make sure to go check them out at We Live on Angst on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Bye!
Well, thanks for listening to the 19th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topic you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast. We can also ask us questions or just get updates about new episodes. See you next time!